Hello, everybody. This is Terry Nance. I want to welcome you to 8 Minutes Strong with the Armor Bearer. Trust you're having a blessed day. If you're enjoying these videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button and go to godsarmorbearer.com. Get the information at my website. You can get the books and really, I'd love to hear from you. There's a comment section there. So give me your email. And what I'll do, I'll send you information out. We've got some good things that are happening, and I want to be able to speak in your life. I'm talking about being an inner circle armor bearer. And sometimes I know people think, well, why does the pastor have certain people around them that are there with him? And it may be the position of associate pastor. It may be a youth pastor, or it could be someone who really they call as an armor bearer, which is there to help. That's what they're there for. It's not just about carrying the Bible or getting water, when that may be part of it. And that's out of honor and respect. But more than anything, you are there to encourage and you're there to minister to them. And so as an inner circle armor bearer, there are those who God calls. I'm just telling you, it's the way it happens. God calls them to stand with their leader and support them in a very close way. Now, let me read to you the must of an inner circle armor bearer. You must be the Aaron and the Hur for your leader. I'm going to read the scripture out of Exodus 17, verse 10 through 13. So Joshua did as Moses said to him and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up on the top of the hill. And so it was when Moses held his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let his hand down, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands became very heavy. And so he took a stone and he put it under him and he sat on it, and Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other side. His hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Now, here is the story. The story is about Moses. Now, maybe Moses honestly should have delegated and should have called on Aaron and Hur to help him, but he didn't. But the thing that I think is so important is that Aaron and Hur at the situation had the eyes to see that Moses was in need. A true inner circle armor bearer that is there with his pastor you have to have the eyes to see. When I came into the local church, the years I served my pastor, I never let him, I never let something go on that I didn't deal with or do the very best that I could so that he didn't have to deal with something when he walked in and he was getting ready to preach. I'm telling you, it's the worst thing in the world to be ready to minister and you walk in the church and somebody grab you and they're complaining and griping and all this and you're trying to hear from the Lord, get ready for the service, and they've just dumped on you. So what I did, I tried to take that load. If somebody had a complaint, I'd deal with it because I didn't want him to deal with it. And then afterwards, of course, I'd share with him what's going on and if he wanted to take it further. But and another thing, if you see something out of order, do it. That's the heart of an armor bearer. They have eyes to see. And that's very, very important. I believe this scenario represents what happened, the call of God and the vision a pastor carries. Moses knew he had to hold up the rod. That's what God told him to do. Sometimes you get weary of holding it up. That could be your fault because you don't delegate, but which was the problem Moses had in dealing with a lot of things. He was wearing himself out. Now I'm reading from my book here. I'm making some comments from it, and that's the new book, God's Armor Bearer for the Next Generation, because I really deal with the inner circle armor bearers. Moses' strength began to fail. Aaron and Hur provided the necessary support. Moses didn't ask them to help him while he was struggling, but they saw what was happening and they went into action. They grabbed and found a rock and placed it under him so he could sit down. Notice that. They didn't go take him to the rock. Here, why are you standing up? Why don't you go sit over here? No, they grabbed the rock. Maybe they thought the spot he was standing was special. Maybe he couldn't move. I don't know what they thought, but I tell you, they had to pick up a pretty heavy rock. And they did this and they set him on the rock. And then without saying anything to Moses, they grabbed his arms and they held it up. They were there with him. And when they saw him struggle, man, they went into action. You know, your leader, and especially today, I mean, my goodness, the struggle that we're facing in the earth today, pastors and leaders in the church with COVID and everything going through it. Now we got war with Russia and all this stuff going on, the Ukraine and China, Iran. And I mean, it's scaring the daylights out of a lot of people. But you know what? It's time we get behind our leaders and run with them. In the inner circle, you must have eyes to see when your leader is weary. You don't have to ask, you just do it. Many a day, I went to my pastor and I said to him, is there anything I can do for you? And I saw him when he was struggling and I just made myself available. I didn't sit and try to judge him because, hey, I have my own struggles. We all struggle. So we have to be willing. And you have to know this is what you're called to do. And not everybody can stand in your shoes, and not everybody's called to stand in your shoes. The other disciples, the other 9 disciples, they weren't in the house. They weren't at the Mount of Transfiguration. They weren't there. But there were 3 who were there, Peter, James, and John. So there's a call to many to stand in that place of leadership. Now, the name Aaron means light bringer, and the name Hur means liberty. Now think about that. That's who a pastor needs as his inner circle team, Mr. Lightbringer and Mr. Liberty. Wow. Bringing light and revelation to whatever's going on, and then releasing a spirit of liberty. Now you're there to provide strength for your leader. By your very presence, a true armor bearer will always display an attitude of faith and peace. If you are to be successful in the service of an armor bearer to your pastor, he must sense the joy and victory that is an integral part of your lifestyle. And you have to maintain that because there's just going to be problems. That's just the bottom line. In leadership, dealing with people, there's problems. And many times, pastor feel like he's in the boat all alone. You make sure you're there with him and standing for him. Pray for him. Pray for her. Go to him. Share your heart with them. Tell them how much you love them today. And, bless them. Do something for them. Just lift up their spirits today, because when you do that, you're doing it unto the Lord. I love you, and I pray you have a wonderful day.